Hey, folks, got a special edition, an addendum to this week's Biggest 12. So, no music today, none of our normal podcast business. Brownie and I just have a lot to get off of our chest, so much so that we thought it was necessary to give you this little aperitif on a Monday night before we get into tomorrow's regularly scheduled Biggest 12. And it is the absolute state of bowl games in America right now. I mean, this weekend was a real what happened to the game I love moment. Watching all of these teams behind me and so many more just opt out of their bowl games. Something that used to be so special to college football teams, to players, to support staff, so special to the culture of college football is now looked at as an inconvenience and a participation trophy. But before we get into any of that, Brownie, I know that you have a lot that you specifically want to say about the current state of those Cyclones right behind me. So, brother, you just go ahead and take it away.
Oh man, there is a lot to talk about, and there has been a lot of misinformation floating around. There's been some really good information floating around, and I unfortunately don't know the answer to everything because I was not a fly on the wall. But at the current day and age of information technology and having to have at least some sort of technology literacy, especially like online, we always talk about information bias, right? And this is one of those cases where information bias is really going to come in handy, I think, for a lot of people. And I think hearing it from a Cyclone fan is going to be more weight in gold, especially somebody who is as passionate as I am. There was a lot of bridge burning starting Friday into Saturday and even going into Sunday. And it was from all different media sources. We were talking about NIL, right? Like before even the bowl game, we were concerned about players leaving, right? Everybody was coming for a bag. Everybody's NIL was coming through with additional funds, additional money. Like Okie State is throwing a bunch of money into their program to make sure that they're competitive with their new head coach. And all of a sudden, we just got this random tidbit that Matt Campbell's agent reached out to Penn State after declining it the first time. And I think it was just one of those things that Iowa State fans took for granted because Matt Campbell is a loyalist. And if from the sounds of it, it was just another power play move to whether it was get him a pay raise, get his assistants and staff a pay raise, something that happens every year for the past like 5 years,
Yeah,
right?
surely Matt Campbell wouldn't leave, and also to such a horrible situation at Penn State, right?
Yeah,
Surely.
yeah, surely. And as it kind of dragged on, like you and I were texting, and I was like, the longer that this drags on, the more confident I feel about Iowa State retaining Matt Campbell. Because Matt Campbell is also one that does not like things made public. Matt Campbell likes to be the one that tells everybody everything, right? That this is not a Matt Campbell personality thing whatsoever. And pieces and pieces started coming together, and we started getting the top donors involved. And it realistically came down to the way that Iowa State distributes and disperses our NIL money, which is different from everybody else. We are the only university that does this, where our NIL is what's called a general fund, right? So let's say, I think Jamie Pollard shared the numbers with us, but it's $13 million to the football team, right? Out of the 25 or the $20 million salary cap, right?
Is that the standard rev share number, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So that gets distributed amongst all players first, and then anything left over then gets put towards the players that you want, right? So every single player signed a contract with the university to, let's say, like all of them get $100,000 foot in the door, right? But that 100K is every student athlete, whether you're a walk-on or a scholarship player. If you play football, if you play basketball, if you play volleyball, if you're on track or cross country, right? Everybody gets that money.
Communism.
Yeah. And it started to frustrate people, right? Because like in this day and age, if you want to compete in the Big 12, especially now that BYU and Texas Tech are slinging 30, 40, 50 million dollars a year, 13 million is not going to cut it at all. Period. And unfortunately, we don't have the ability to have all of these very, I would say, lucrative NIL deals outside of the cap, like what, Cody Campbell did
Mhm.
or what the Crumble CEO did. We don't have that ability. I mean, we now are starting to see that ability, but it really came down to where Matt Campbell did not like the way that the NIL worked and the players era tournament, right? That we talked about where every team that goes gets like $1 million or whatever to their NIL fund. Uh, that went straight into the general fund. That did not go to the men's basketball team. Men's basketball team got a portion of it.
Mhm.
So, for an example, since most of us are TCU fans in this chat, it would be like, uh, let's say Bucky's asked for Hoover to be their spokesperson, right? And they paid the TCU collective $5 million for the deal. So that way Hoover could wear his TCU jersey, use the facilities, whatever, have a heyday of it, right? So TCU, Hoover would probably see all that money. At Iowa State, Hoover would only see a portion of that money because all that money would then be dispersed to everybody. So even though it was Hoover that brought in that dollar, Hoover does not get to see all that dollar. And that's what was pissing off all of our coaches. Yeah. It was terrible. And I I don't know where we go from there. And it's absolutely insane to me that we were put into that situation. And people were saying that Jamie Pollard was dictating all money decisions, whether it be outside sources or not. So I'm I don't know how true that one was, but he was very predominant and emphasitical on making sure that we hit that $20 million cap or whatever, and then everything else had to go from the outside. But he was also very hesitant with the items that were coming in from the outside. So take it with a grain of salt, however you want to see it. But Jamie Pollard's way of handling the NIL really, I think, cost us Matt Campbell to begin with. But then the other shitty part of this entire thing was that Matt Campbell, I guess, raised these concerns in the middle of the week. And the headwinds started coming at the end of the week. But when Matt Campbell got told no by Jamie Pollard, and then it came out that he was talking to Penn State, Jamie Pollard already had our next head coach in a contract. Like we had Rogers under a contract Friday night before Matt Campbell even said yes to Penn State. 100.
Which is why it happened so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you literally look at the social media accounts, Iowa State announced Rogers as the next head coach before Penn State said that Matt Campbell was their next head coach. And it was insane because even in their interviews recently, they were saying that they were having these conversations back in 2021, right? That like,
Mhm.
what would it take for me to be the next head coach after Matt Campbell?
Mhm.
So I definitely appreciate Jamie Pollard having the sense of mind to be able to have a backup plan, especially with Matt Campbell being on all of these hot seats. But Jamie Pollard basically said no to retaining Matt Campbell because he already had the backup in. Like that to me just pisses me off.
Yeah.
You're replacing arguably the greatest head coach of football with an unknown that, yeah, did really well at Wazoo because he had to bring in like 70 kids and still went 6-6 and a top 15 defense.
No, I
But
think Rogers is an excellent
oh
hire.
yeah,
But yeah, but you're just letting the biggest fish off the hook
yeah,
when you didn't need to do that.
yeah, and leave it to Penn State to literally fall ass backwards into arguably the best hire that they could have gotten.
Yeah. I mean, like Penn State absolutely obliterated their program. They had two signees on National Signing Day, two. And now you got Matt Campbell coming in somehow after bungling every single attempted hire. And I would assume is going to bring a lot of Iowa State players with him, which is probably why y'all opted out of your bowl game. Is that wrong, Brownie?
So, yes and no. Currently, as it stands, Rogers is in fact talking to a lot of the players. The general census of it, since fortunately a lot of our best players are graduating and or going to the NFL, um, the general census of it is probably 10% are leaving. So
Not
that's
bad.
probably going to be somewhere between 8 to 15 total players. Obviously, that's going to be the 8 to 15 best players on our roster. It's already been said that probably our best offensive linemen that were in the works are probably going to go to Penn State because Ryan Clayton, our offensive line coach, is now going there. Taylor Mouser is projected to go there as well. Because I don't know if it's official or not, but we are getting the Detroit Lions tight end coach.
Hmm.
So that's going to be really good. He was one of the best coordinators at NDSU, multiple national champion at NDSU. Knows how to run the football because he was a runner. Great with running backs. Obviously, tight end depth at Iowa State is great. Penn State currently has huge depth at tight end as well. So we are hoping to retain that. The big question mark right now is our running backs, like Carson Hansen. Is he transferring? Is Abu Sama going to be transferring? What's it going to look like if both of them leave? Is Rocco Beck going to transfer? I don't really think that Penn State is going to be a huge fan of Rocco, especially if Rocco does what Rocco did during this year, where he just had that lapse and just wasn't mentally there. So I think realistically, if anything, we might have 3 or 4 of them go to Penn State, and the rest of them are probably going to go elsewhere. Whether it be Texas Tech or BYU, or maybe K State can throw a dime or a nickel at somebody. We have a couple of Texas kids. So is it going to be an all out warfare with SMU, Texas, TCU, Baylor, Okie State? Like, all of these schools that have bigger dollars are probably going to be coming in. And unfortunately, I don't know if the next touchy subject is the stipulation on us also getting that amount of NIL, which is Jamie Pollard. And I will give Pollard where credit is due, right? He is arguably the best athletic director Iowa State has ever had. He came into a university that had a red program, had major deficits, no facilities whatsoever to speak of, minimal engagement with fans, like barely any attendance at anything. And he turned it around. Like, as an accountant, he did what accountants did, right? He pushed the budget, he got the budget green, he got great hires, he made good decisions when he needed to. But now with NIL, I feel like the stereotypical accountant, businessman type of athletic director is the old dinosaur, right? You almost need a marketing strategist now as an athletic director because you need to now sell your university to get your NIL money. And the only way to do that is to have connections with larger corporations and larger donors to give you that money. And Jamie Pollard has officially pissed off probably the top 15% of our donor pool because they let Matt Campbell go. And I mean, if you think about it, most of the students at Iowa State were 8 years old, 7 years old when Matt Campbell started. Like, all they know is Matt Campbell football. And you have donors that saw what happened with Paul Rhodes, saw what happened with Gene Chizik, like saw the up and downs of Dan McCarney and Kreiner and everybody else. Like, they don't want to go back to the losing era. So it's realistically Iowa State donors are now probably yelling to get Pollard out. And the problem is our current president is retiring at the end of the month. And our next president doesn't start until March 1st because he has to finish his school year out at NDSU. And I know for a fact that they were both in the room, and so was the interim president when they were making the hire for Rodgers and going with Rodgers and getting all those contracts and everything. But one has to think now, specifically, Jamie Pollard has let go Cale Sanderson, arguably going to be the greatest wrestling head coach in the country and probably in history. He let go of Fred Hoiberg, who arguably was one of the greatest head coaches at Iowa State. There's a rumor mill that TJ Otzelberger could potentially leave for a high profile job, which would be another blunder because of this NIL thing. He now has let go the greatest coach in Cyclone football history. And our wrestling coach is on the fence and our women's basketball coach is on the fence. So his legacy now, and mind you, Pollard, if you're listening to this, you need to get your ego in check, because your legacy now is solely reliant on this hire being a home run. Because if football loses, Chi-Town loses. If Chi-Town loses, it is an empty strip mall in between football and basketball that nobody wants any part to be with, and you are going to lose top donors, and now you're going to lose TJ Otzelberger. You're going to have a hard time replacing with a good wrestling head coach, and you're probably going to lose out on a women's basketball coach too that's going to be good. Your athletic legacy to scratch your own ego got you to where you were and is now your downfall. Like, what's the infamous quote from Batman? Like, you stay so long being the hero that you turned into a villain.
Yes, yeah. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Yeah.
That is you, Pollard, right there. You have officially become villain number one in Ames, Iowa, and you have nobody to blame but yourself, and everybody is pissed off. Now, what I will say, to make something positive out of this entire situation, is Rodgers has been on an absolute fucking bender, right? He has co-defensive coordinators from a top 15 Wazoo defense. He has the co-defensive coordinator from Toledo, which was a top 25 defense and a top 3 scoring defense, right? Now, granted, it's Pac-12 / Mountain West and MAC. So, I mean, little tiny itty bitty asterisk there. But when they were at South Dakota State, they both had a top 5 FCS defense.
Then he won a national championship at South Dakota State.
Yeah. And what's funny is I talked to a couple of the SDSU players, and they said that if he didn't leave, they would have won 2024, and they probably would have won this year. So that's telling you how good this guy is, because let's face it, the top FCS programs that are constantly up there could compete with FBS teams on a regular basis. If you gave them the exact same funding, it's almost a wash. Like, I'm not saying that they're going to be coming out here and fighting for national championships and conference championships, but you're going to look at our Big 12 standings and not tell me that they're going to be competing against the likes of Kansas and Kansas State and Iowa State at the mid of the table. Like, I personally love the hire. I love the hires that are coming in. They're saying the right things, and it's really weird for an Iowa State fan to be this pissed off and this passionate, because we typically are not the schools that lose our fucking coaches, right? Like, we don't get coaches poached. Like, we fire our coaches because we suck. So, like, when Cale Sanderson left, we were mad. When Fred Hoiberg left, we were mad, but it was the NBA, so we understood, right? Matt Campbell was family. And I think that's what is pissing everybody off, because he was family. And the staff was family. And he made the players feel like family. And fortunately for us, I think that Rodgers is cut from the same cloth, where he also feels like Iowa State and Ames should be a family culture, right? And he even said it in his interview. Culture first. We go and get culture guys, and we train them to be the best football players and the best people that they can be off of the field. Like, that is his priority. Like, we're not going to go and beat Georgia where, all of our players are going to go and get OWIs and have like the cute little days without an incident Futurama tracker on the side of our athletic building. But yeah, I mean that's my rant. I could obviously go on for frickin' ever, but I don't think it'd be fair to keep bitching and moaning about something that honestly is going to be inevitable because Pollard needs to leave. I don't know who you replace him with, but the next athletic director has something to do with the general funds to get figured out. And we really need to come up with a way to get boosters involved outside of the NIL cap, whether it be them personally donating to the cap and then using their corporations, companies, or whatever else, LLCs, private businesses, and stuff to help us with the outside factor. So yeah. Oh, I was also gonna share. I finally figured out what the hell this NIL revenue crap is and all the rules for it. So if you're down, I can explain it now.
Now you know all about it.
I know all about it.
Yeah. Well, I know you had to get all of that off your chest. I'm glad we did. I mean, let it never be said that college football fans are incapable of overreacting. But I think the reason that there's so much anxiety right now in this current atmosphere is because with so much money in play out in the open and so much constant threat of realignment and playoff changes and getting left out, it feels like anxiety is at an all-time high as a college football fan because it is so easy to get left behind, right? You have a couple of bad years and you could be sitting where Washington State is, just completely left in the dust. And I think that's on top of the fact that, like, yes, Iowa State lost the best coach they've ever had when he was still at the top of his game, and feeling like that stab in the back could have been avoided. Even though Rogers, I think, is a good hire, there's just all of this uncertainty of like, well, shoot, are we going to be able to keep up, right? We can't go back to losing the way we were because then what's going to happen? Then what if we get left behind, right? In a environment where they already want to leave the Big 12 out at every chance that they get. And we are going to get into BYU getting host tomorrow. We're going to get into all of the things that need to be talked about on our show tomorrow. So don't you worry, dear viewers. But we wanted to have this extra aperitif, not only so Brownie could get that off his chest, but so we could both get off our chest the absolute frustration and, it's embarrassing, okay, that so many teams are willing to forego bowl season entirely because the season didn't turn out how they wanted, right? And of course, I'm upset at all these teams. I understand Iowa State's situation is a little bit different. I understand Kansas State's situation is a little bit different. You don't have a coach, right? But Notre Dame, get the hell over yourself. Join a damn conference. And, I try not to curse on this show, but this is just chicken shit what Notre Dame has chosen to do, right? You clearly do not have the resume to get into the college football playoff. You played a very easy schedule outside of the 2 games that you lost. And now you're just going to take your ball and go home because, we're too good for the Pop-Tart Bowl. And, we're going to come at you with a vengeance next year. Yeah, I'm sure you will with that high school schedule you got next year. Bowl games are what the sport is built on, right? This is why college football is so special and so different, is because so many teams have something to play for. Notre Dame's been playing in bowl games since 1925. Do you think all those players back then thought of it as a participation trophy? No, you don't. You still have to win to get a trophy in a bowl game, right? And imagine all of those seniors on Notre Dame who just found out that they played their last game without even knowing it, right? Because the administration is too high on their own supply and too entitled to think that they would stoop so low as to lose to BYU, which they freaking would, in the Pop-Tart Bowl, the greatest bowl game of all time. I cannot get over just the absolute destruction and evisceration of my favorite sport of all time in front of my very eyes, all over entitlement and greed, right? Because don't get me wrong, ESPN and Disney have created this scenario, right, where it's playoff or bust and where they have a vested interest in putting in teams that they already have broadcasting contracts with, the SEC, the ACC, right, over your Big 12s, over your Notre Dame, who has a contract with NBC, over everybody else, right? fairness be damned, it's about the brand on the helmet. It's about who's going to make us the most money and who's going to get us the most eyeballs. And Kirk Herbstreit can pet his dog and feel good about whatever he has to say about it. I mean, Brownie, come on. What is your feeling as the fan of a team who turned down a bowl game despite being bowl eligible? What are your thoughts?
It's insane because, like, I understand from an Iowa State perspective why we said no. A lot of the players said that they wanted to, and it was up to the administration, and the administration said no. And I think it was an overwhelming concern of player availability, right? Like for us, you just lost your coach. There's going to be kids entering the transfer portal. Kids don't know what they're going to do. Our defensive coordinator, John Heacock, was going to be the temporary head coach if we did go to the bowl game. That I think was obviously decided when Matt Campbell was out the door and Rogers was coming in. And I mean, we just had so many injuries at secondary. We were already on walk-ons going into it, right? Like, how are we supposed to prepare for a bowl game if we can't even run scrimmages? So I understand from an Iowa State perspective on why we did this. I also am kind of pissed off about it too because we still get fined $500,000 for declining it.
Yeah.
And we have a justifiable reason why. And it's the exact same way with Kansas State, right? It's not like Kansas State didn't want to go to the freaking bowl game. It's who's coaching the bowl game.
Sure.
Like
extraordinary circumstances. I get
Yeah.
that. But then when you look at a Kansas who's next in line, or a UCF, or a Baylor, who have their coaches, have their players, what the absolute hell is wrong with you? You've got an opportunity to get a whole another month of practice and play in a bowl game, and you're going to say no because, oh, well, we don't want to go to Phoenix or Memphis or whatever the hell. Bro, it's a bowl game. Like, that used to mean something, and it's still a fun trip. And, you know, before everyone was getting paid, you used to get bowl gifts, and that was very exciting. And you used to have one more game with your brothers. That used to mean something. But nobody gives a damn anymore, and I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's definitely weird, right? Because, I mean, me growing up, especially me being an athlete, like, if you give me one more game, I'm going out for one more game, right?
Yes!
Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, you could tell me that it is a charity game and I am putting on my cleats and I am literally going to slide tackle a motherfucker from the back. I don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, I will lay hands and put hands up and lay people out. Like, it is one of those things as an athlete that absolutely frustrates me when you have the ability to go and do something and you just say no. It's literally just like a quitter's mentality. And I understand if there is a circumstance like an Iowa State, like a Kansas State, where you just don't know. Like, there is a big asterisk on it. But teams that do know that their staff is there, that their players are there, like it, unless you're telling me that these guys are all of a sudden going to have like an entire transfer portal full of the team and the players just aren't there anymore, like there is absolutely no excuse.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Baylor literally kept Dave Aranda with the explicit reason being we want to keep this team together and keep this synergy for one more season and see if it'll work one more time. What the hell are you doing turning down a bowl game, man?
Exactly.
What are you doing?
And I know it's not the most prestigious and shit like that, but at the same time, like it's something to be able to help you. And it's also a great way to develop talent. And I know that you and I, before we even started this, were moaning and complaining about like opt-outs, right? For bowl games. And like I don't want to hurt my draft stock. Like, you really think that a lot of like the old school players cared if they got injured in a bowl game, if they were going to be a first overall pick? Like, I have seen Ed Reed's tape, and no way was that dude not going to say no to any sort of thing. And that's just the competitor mentality back then compared to now. And I'm not saying that it's because we've gotten softer with sports. I just think that money has ruined everything, right? Like, there is just so much more money to being a first round pick and opting out of your bowl game than playing in the bowl game and getting that extra tape and hoping that your draft stock is going to go up a little bit versus the risk of getting an injury. And to that point too, with Notre Dame for their full opt-out crybaby, their AD just went on a whole entire burn bridge, nuke the system. Like, the ACC has ruined their relationship with us because they showed that Miami is better than us. Like, what the hell are we talking about, right?
Where
Like,
do you get off Like,
Yeah,
talking like
it like Miami is clearly better than Notre Dame was, and
they
Miami,
beat
like,
them.
yeah,
They beat them.
yeah. Not only the head to head, but Miami has 3 top 25 wins.
Yeah.
Notre Dame
Well,
only has
and
1.
frankly, if we're being completely honest, I mean, frankly, BYU had a better resume than Miami anyway. Like Miami shouldn't
Yeah,
have been in the playoff anyway. But
yeah.
like that just shows how little of a leg to stand on Notre Dame had to even be in the playoff. They're just so freaking entitled. I mean, speaking of their AD, he was online talking about, oh, well, we expect to be guaranteed a playoff spot if we're ranked in the top 12. Get the hell out of my face. Are you kidding me? Like Newt Rockney's been dead a
Join a
long time.
conference.
You know, like it's not the 80s anymore. Just because everyone recognizes your golden helmet, join a damn conference and get over yourself. You know, like if you don't want to be penalized for not playing in the conference championship game, then join a conference.
What I find interesting, and kind of a side comment on that one, is did you see the reports that Michigan and Ohio State are also considering leaving the Big Ten and going independent?
Yeah, well, because if Notre Dame can get in for playing whoever the hell they want, you know,
Yeah,
Boston College 12
why not?
times, why not? Yeah, why the
Why
hell
not?
not?
I mean, that's the current stage. And what's funny is that not too long ago, everybody was talking about like the super conference merge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like join the Big Ten and the SEC, and it's going to be the greatest conference of all time. But then, like now, you're starting to see ACC, SEC, Big Ten schools. All of them are firing coaches for winning what 8 or 9 games.
Yeah,
Like, come on, what are we
yeah,
talking about? Like James
yeah.
Franklin literally took Penn State to the playoffs, like the semifinal, and then he
Yeah,
got canned
last
the
year.
next
Yeah,
year. Yeah,
yeah.
like he got canned, and now Matt Campbell is there. And like Penn State fans, if you're watching, I really hope that you enjoy the oh well, we just didn't win in the margins, and also
Yeah,
playing
that
one
marriage
possession
is not going
games.
to work out for anybody. That's the one thing that we haven't said yet. Penn State's going to be miserable. Matt Campbell's going to be miserable. That is not going to work out for anyone involved at
No,
all
no.
because
He,
the expectations are infinitely higher at Penn State, obviously, than Iowa State. Matt
yeah,
Campbell was already a legend at Iowa State. You had a lot of cachet, a lot of goodwill that you could have had several down years and still made it through it.
yep,
Now Penn State, there's going to be impossibly high expectations, and Penn State's not going to be very happy with, like you're saying, Matt Campbell's demeanor about if we do drop a game because you're gonna drop
yeah.
games.
Well, not only that, but like one possession games. Matt Campbell
Yeah,
has never been a blow a team out. It's you take the lead and you strangle them, and then you win by one possession.
yeah. It's
That's it.
it's the Gary
There,
Patterson school, man, for sure,
yeah.
for sure.
And what I find interesting and funny is after looking through some of the Jimmy Rogers tape, Jimmy Rogers is a king of running up scores. Like we're talking like never let the foot off the gas pedal, and his defense runs the exact same way. Because mind you, he's a defensive guy.
Yeah,
Like he calls the defensive plays as the head coach. Like he does not care about his offense whatsoever, and obviously it shows because it's always bottom 10. But like they are aggressive on defense, and they have just enough offense to put the pedal to the metal. And if they get defensive turnovers, they make you punish. But if their offense is not clicking, you lose.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be very interesting for Iowa State because we are going to be in this weird divorce trial, redheaded stepchild thing that like we have never seen for a very long time, which is a 4-man front because we're getting rid of the 3-3-5. He said it in his presser. He's bringing blitz packages and he loves to run up the score. And he even joked, first thing he even told us was he knew that he had resting bitch face.
Yeah,
That's my type of guy.
yeah, yeah.
And allegedly he had chew in. So even more my guy.
Well, Brownie, unless you have anything else to say about bowl, do you have anything else to say about the bowl opt-outs?
I, I think it's just plain stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
It,
I mean, this sport, one of the many things that used to make this sport so great is it was about so much more than the national championship, right? The bowl games, I mean, so many of my favorite memories of being a TCU fan or even being a part of the team as an equipment manager are playing in a Poinsettia Bowl, right? Or an Alamo Bowl or the Sun Bowl, for God's sakes. And of course, the Rose Bowl, right? all of these bowl games that are so special and it's just another opportunity to love your team, watch your team compete, watch these kids grow up into men, right? All of these things that this sport was supposed to be about, regional pride and brotherhood and togetherness, and people couldn't care less about it. At least the people who are making decisions and the people who are the loudest voices in the media. Now, there's a lot. There's your Shahan J. Rogers who get it, right? There's your Parker Flemings who get it. There's people in the media who get it, right? But all of those folks at ESPN, all of the Heather Diniches and the Kirk Herbstreets and the Reese Davises, they make me want to puke, right? You have taken the most beautiful sport, dare I say the most American sport that could ever exist, and you're perverting it and you're destroying it before our very eyes, and we can do nothing but watch in horror. So that's your biggest 12 extra, y'all. We are going to do a show again tomorrow. So Rye Guy, don't worry. You didn't miss it this week. This is just an extra. We had 30 minutes of content that we wanted to get off our chest in addition to everything we're going to cover tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow night. Same bat time, same bat channel as always for a regular edition of the Biggest 12. Until then, we love you. We hope your team wins. Go Big 12. Subscribe to the show.
Do it or else.
Yes, 12 more people. I need 12 more.